You were not born to be liked. You were born to lead. You were not created to fit in. You were created to stand out. And too many of us are trading our purpose for popularity. Too many of us are dying to be accepted by people who don't even accept themselves. You're chasing applause instead of assignment. Let me tell you something. Purpose will take you where popularity can't follow. Popularity is temporary. It fades. One moment they love you, the next they cancel you. But purpose is permanent. Purpose gives your life direction when everything around you seems chaotic. You want validation from strangers instead of hearing a call from God. You want likes, retweets, and followers more than you want peace, legacy, and destiny. But hear me, purpose doesn't always come with a crowd. Sometimes it comes with isolation, with sacrifice, with discipline, with saying on to what's easy so you can say yes to what's eternal. You see popular people come and go, but people of purpose, they leave a legacy. Martin Luther King Jr. wasn't always popular, but he had purpose. Nelson Mandela didn't win a popularity contest. He had purpose. Mother Teresa didn't chase likes. She chased lives. So ask yourself, are you living for people or are you living for purpose? Stop scrolling, stop comparing, stop shrinking to fit the world's idea of success. Rise up and walk in your calling, because when the lights go off and the applause stops, purpose will still be there. Purpose will hold you when the world turns its back. Purpose will push you when people stop clapping. Choose purpose over popularity. Every single time. Popularity is fleeting, but purpose is forever. It sounds simple, but the depth of this truth is often ignored in a world where external validation has become a currency of self-worth. We live in a society where people chase likes, shares, and followers more intensely than they chase their true calling. Social media has convinced us that being seen is more important than being significant. But when the crowd disperses and the lights go out, it's not popularity that will sustain you, it's purpose. Purpose doesn't expire. Purpose doesn't shift with trends. It doesn't need an audience. It just needs your commitment. The reason popularity is fleeting is because it's built on perception. And perceptions change like the weather. One day people love you. The next day they criticize you for the same things they once celebrated. You can spend your whole life trying to win the approval of others, only to realize that no matter how much you give, they will always want more. They'll want you to look a certain way, speak a certain way, and behave a certain way. And the moment you stop, their support fades. That's the trap of popularity. It's conditional. But purpose is unconditional. Purpose doesn't depend on applause. It depends on alignment with who you were created to be and what you were placed here to do. You can't build a meaningful life on fleeting validation. You can't define yourself based on metrics that fluctuate daily. Purpose, on the other hand, is stable. It's the anchor in the storm. It's what keeps you grounded when the world tries to shake you. There will be days when nobody claps for you, days when your work goes unnoticed, days when your sacrifices seem invisible. But if you're living on purpose, those days still count. Those quiet seasons, those hidden efforts, they're still building something eternal. People will forget what was trending a year from now, but they will never forget someone who lived with deep conviction and a clear sense of purpose. Think about the people we remember. They weren't always popular. In fact, many were criticized in their time. Martin Luther King Jr. was hated by many while he was alive. Mother Teresa lived in poverty and served the forgotten without ever seeking attention. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years in prison for standing on principle, not for public approval. These individuals were driven by purpose, not applause. And because of that, they left a legacy that outlived them. Purpose is powerful because it doesn't evaporate with time. It doesn't vanish when the crowd walks away. It continues to speak even after you're gone. When you live a life of purpose, your impact becomes a ripple effect, touching lives you may never meet, inspiring generations you'll never see. But that only happens when you choose to be driven by something deeper than the desire to be liked. It happens when you're willing to be misunderstood, unpopular, or even alone for a season in order to remain faithful to what you were called to do. Living with purpose requires courage, because it means you have to walk away from the easy path. It means turning your back on instant gratification. It means being okay with being invisible while you work, while you grow, while you build. Popularity is loud and fast, but purpose is often silent and slow. It takes time. It takes patience. It takes resilience. You won't always get credit right away. You won't always feel appreciated. But if you keep walking in purpose, you'll eventually see that everything was worth it. The problem is too many people give up their purpose in exchange for temporary praise. They adjust who they are to fit into boxes designed by other people. They dilute their values to avoid criticism. They silence their convictions so they can maintain a following. But if you're constantly editing yourself to be accepted, you're not living. You're performing, and no performance, no matter how polished, can fulfill you the way living with purpose can. You weren't born to be popular. You were born to be powerful. And power doesn't come from attention. It comes from alignment. When your actions align with your values, when your decisions reflect your vision, when your time is invested in what truly matters, that's power, that's impact, that's purpose. And that's what will last. One of the most dangerous things you can do is succeed at something that doesn't matter. You could be praised for achievements that have no eternal value. You could win awards for work that wasn't connected to your calling. And that's why you need to ask yourself, am I living for what's eternal or for what's easy? Because there's a difference between being celebrated and being significant. Popularity brings temporary attention. Purpose brings lasting impact. When you chase popularity, you become a slave to opinions. You stop measuring your work by comments and likes. You begin shaping your choices based on trends instead of truth. And eventually, you lose yourself in the pursuit of applause. But when you chase purpose, you find your identity to something bigger than you. You become rooted in your value. You wake up every day with direction, with fire, with peace, even if nobody sees it, even if nobody praises it, even if nobody understands it. The truth is, purpose often leads you into the wilderness before it takes you to the mountaintop. You may have to go through loneliness. You may have to say no when everyone else is saying yes. You may have to be the only one walking the narrow path while the rest of the world runs after comfort and applause. But the reward is worth it, because popularity can give you a moment, but purpose will give you a movement. So don't settle, don't shrink, don't sell out. You don't need to be liked by everybody. You just need to be faithful to the reason you were created. Stay consistent, stay disciplined, stay focused, because in the end, the people who truly change the world are the ones who are more committed to purpose than they are to popularity. Purpose often requires isolation, sacrifice, and rejection. This is a reality most people aren't prepared for because they associate walking in purpose with immediate support, celebration, and community. But the truth is, when you make the decision to pursue your true calling, when you step into what you were created to do, not everyone will understand it. Not everyone will clap for it. In fact, some of the very people you thought would cheer you on might be the first ones to distance themselves. Why? Because purpose exposes things. It exposes laziness in others. It highlights the difference between comfort and calling. And that can make people uncomfortable. When you start walking in purpose, your life becomes a mirror for others. Your discipline confronts their excuses. Your consistency challenges their chaos. Your willingness to sacrifice shines a light on their desire to stay the same. And instead of being inspired by your growth, some will reject it. They'll say you've changed, and they'll be right. Purpose will change you. It will pull you out of the crowd and place you on a path that often feels lonely. It will demand that you leave behind things and people you once found familiar. And that's hard, but necessary. The isolation that comes with purpose is not punishment, it's preparation. It's in that quiet space where your character is built. It's in that alone time where you develop the internal strength to carry the weight of the responsibility your purpose requires. You see, popularity often inflates people who don't have the foundation to sustain it. But purpose builds you from the inside out. And that process can't be rushed. It can't be performed. It can only be lived through. There's something powerful that happens in the silence. And that's where vision becomes clearer. That's where you learn how to depend on faith instead of followers. That's where your motives are purified. Because when nobody's watching, you find out what's real. Do you still work hard when no one's applauding? Do you still show up when no one is supporting? That's the test of purpose. And it's past the purpose, and it's past in isolation. Sacrifice is another piece that makes purpose difficult but worthwhile. Everyone wants greatness. Everyone wants success. But few are willing to give up what they love now for what they want most. Purpose will require you to make hard choices. It will force you to prioritize growth over gratification. You might have to let go of relationships that are draining you. You might have to walk away from opportunities that are good, but not aligned. You may even have to deny yourself certain comforts so that you can stay sharp and focused. That's what separates people of purpose from people of popularity. Popularity is about doing what feels good in the moment. Purpose is about doing what's necessary for the mission. The person chasing popularity is looking for applause right now. The person living in purpose is planting seeds for impact later. And that means you may not see the results immediately. You might work for months or years with little recognition. But purpose isn't about instant rewards. It's about eternal results. Rejection is another door you must pass through if you're serious about purpose. People may laugh at your vision. They may question your decision. They may criticize your efforts. But rejection is part of the process. If everybody agrees with you, you're probably not doing anything that matters. Purpose disrupts the norm. It breaks cycles. It challenges systems. And that kind of work doesn't always win fans. You have to develop thick skin and a soft heart. Thick skin to handle the criticism without becoming bitter, and a soft heart to stay compassionate even when you're misunderstood. Rejection doesn't mean you're wrong. It often means you're ahead. Noah was mocked until it rained. Joseph was betrayed before he was promoted. Jesus was crucified before he resurrected. Every great story of purpose includes a season of rejection. But here's the key. Don't let rejection redirect you from your mission. Let it refine you. The pain that comes with purpose is not designed to destroy you. It's there to develop you. Every tear you shed in silence, every night you spent doubting if it was worth it, every moment you felt unseen and unheard, those are sacred moments. Those are the chapters of your story that will one day inspire others, but only if you keep going. Only if you push through the loneliness, press through the sacrifice, and stand firm in the face of rejection. Too many people quit when purpose becomes uncomfortable. They think that if it's painful, it must not be right. But sometimes pain is the sign that you're growing. Think about it. When you work out, your muscles tear before they rebuild stronger. It's the same in purpose. The tearing season always comes before the transformation. So don't run from the difficulty. Embrace it. Learn from it. Let it shape you into someone who's not only gifted, but grounded. One of the most powerful things about walking in purpose is that you begin to find joy even in the sacrifice. You stop needing everything to go your way. You stop demanding constant affirmation because you know that what you're building isn't for applause, it's for impact. And that impact might not be visible yet, but you feel it. You feel the shift in your spirit. You feel the alignment in your soul. And that becomes enough to keep going. You also begin to attract the right people. People who value your mission more than your image. People who see your character more than your clout. When you stop chasing attention, you start drawing authenticity. And even though purpose might separate you from many, it will eventually connect you to those who matter most. So yes, purpose requires isolation. It requires sacrifice. It requires rejection. But it also produces depth, strength, and impact. And those things are far more valuable than temporary popularity. Because at the end of the day, when all the noise fades, when the lights go out, and when people stop clapping, purpose will still be there. Purpose doesn't leave you. It stays. It guides. It grows. And it will take you further than popularity ever could. If you're in that season of isolation right now, don't be discouraged. If you're making sacrifices and it feels like no one sees it, don't give up. If you face rejection and you're tempted to quit, don't. You're not alone. You're not invisible. You're being shaped. You're being refined. You're being prepared. Keep walking. Keep sacrificing. Keep believing. Because one day, the very things you cried about will become the testimony someone else clings to. One day, the purpose you stay loyal to will bear fruit that changes lives. And on that day, you'll realize it was all worth it. You were born to stand out, not fit in. From the moment you entered this world, there was something different about you. Something unique, something intentional. You weren't made to blend into the background or mimic everyone else's journey. You were made to rise above mediocrity, to challenge norms, to light up dark places with your authenticity. And yet, the world we live in constantly tries to force us into conformity. It teaches us to suppress our individuality in exchange for acceptance. It tells us to stay quiet when we were born to speak, to stay still when we were born to move, to stay small when we were born to expand. But no matter how hard the world pushes you to fit in, the truth is your soul will never be at peace until you embrace your call to stand out. Standing out doesn't mean being arrogant or loud for attention. It means being bold enough to be yourself when everyone else is trying to be someone else. It means staying true to your values even when they're not popular. It means trusting your path even when it doesn't look like anybody else's. That kind of courage is rare, and that's why so many people never step into their true calling. They're afraid of standing alone. But here's the truth. You cannot fulfill your destiny while clinging to the need to be accepted by the crowd. Fitting in feels safe. It feels easy. It gives you the illusion of belonging, but it's a trap. Because to fit in, you have to compromise pieces of yourself. You have to downplay your dreams, hide your brilliance, silence your voice, and perform for approval. Over time, you start to lose who you really are. And one day you wake up and realize that all the acceptance you fought for still didn't satisfy you because it was built on a version of you that wasn't real. The world celebrates uniqueness on the surface, but it resists it in practice. People say they want authenticity, but they're quick to judge anything that doesn't fit their mold. That's why standing out takes strength. It takes the kind of internal confidence that can't be shaken by external opinions. It takes knowing who you are and what you're about, so that when the criticism comes, and it will, you don't fall. You keep moving. You showing up. You keep standing tall. You were never supposed to be a copy of someone else. You were never meant to walk a path that doesn't match your gifts. The reason you feel uncomfortable trying to be like everybody else is because your soul remembers who you are. Your spirit knows the difference between imitation and truth. That discomfort is your inner compass nudging you back toward your real self, the one who's not afraid to dream, to lead, to speak, to act. Standing out means walking into rooms and not shrinking just to make others comfortable. It means knowing that your light doesn't dim anyone else's. It simply reminds them they have one too. But the sad reality is, many people choose to stay dim because they're afraid of how others will react to their brightness. They've been taught that being different is dangerous. But the danger isn't in being different. The danger is in denying your difference. The world doesn't change because of people who conform. It changes because of people who challenge the status quo. The people who have made the biggest impact in history weren't the ones who fit in. They were the ones who stood out. They were the outliers, the misfits, the visionaries, the bold ones who dared to be different even when it cost them everything. Think about it. Every innovator, every leader, every game changer had to walk through seasons of misunderstanding, isolation, and rejection. But they didn't let that stop them. They let it shape them. When you stand out, you make it easier for others to do the same. You give people permission to be real. Your courage becomes contagious. Your authenticity becomes a mirror that reflects possibility. That's why it's so important to stop apologizing for who you are. You don't need to shrink to be accepted. You don't need to edit yourself to be included. The right people will celebrate your difference. The right environment will nurture your uniqueness. But first, you have to value it yourself. Standing out also means embracing your imperfection. It means realizing that you don't have to be perfect to have purpose. You don't have to have it all figured out to make an impact. What makes you real is what makes you relatable. And what makes you relatable is what makes you powerful. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with authenticity. And authenticity only comes when you stop performing and start living from a place of truth. You can't chase your destiny while trying to maintain your disguise. Eventually, one will have to go. You either let go of who you're pretending to be, or you let go of who you were born to be. But you can't carry both. The longer you try to fit in, the more you delay your purpose. The more you try to please everyone, the more disconnected you become from yourself. And the longer you wear the mask, the harder it is to remember the face underneath. But here's the good news. It's never too late to reclaim your difference. It's never too late to stand out. You can decide today that you're done blending in. You can choose now to stop living by other people's expectations. You can begin right now to honor the voice inside you that's been whispering, there's more. And once you start walking in your uniqueness, something shifts. The right doors open. The right people appear. The right opportunities come. Because life begins to align when you align with your truth. Don't let fear of judgment rob you of your greatness. Don't let rejection silence your voice. Don't let insecurity talk you out of your identity. You have something the world needs, and it won't come through you trying to fit in. It will only come when you stand out. Your ideas, your creativity, your story, your energy, it all matters. And the moment you start owning it, everything around you will begin to change. There will be resistance. There will be moments when standing out feels like a burden, but in time, you'll see that it's a blessing because standing out, this world doesn't need more copies. It needs originals. It needs you. The bold you, the unfiltered, passionate, and purposeful you. So don't hide, don't wait, don't second guess. The world needs what you carry. Let them call you different. You were never meant to be the same. Let them misunderstand you. Your vision is not for everyone to understand. Legacy comes from living on purpose, not being liked. It's easy to get caught up in the desire to be liked by others. It feels good to be accepted, to be affirmed, to be popular. But if you're not careful, you can spend your entire life trying to please people and end up leaving nothing behind that truly matters. Being liked is temporary. It fades with time, changes with trends, and depends on conditions outside your control. But living on purpose, that's where legacy is built. That's where real impact is made. That's where your life becomes a story that continues even after you're gone. When you live for likes, you're living for the moment. You're chasing surface level approval. You're adjusting who you are based on who's watching. But when you live on purpose, you're living for eternity. You're driven by something deeper than popularity. You're rooted in conviction, not convenience. You're building something that will outlast you. Legacy doesn't come from what people think about you today. Legacy comes from what you built that still speaks tomorrow. People who make history don't do it by being liked. They do it by being faithful to their calling. They do it by showing up when it's hard, by standing strong when it's unpopular, by doing the right thing even when no one's watching. Your legacy isn't shaped by the moments when people praise you. It's shaped by the moments when you choose purpose over comfort, consistency over applause, truth over trend. Ask yourself, when you're gone, what will they say about you? Will they say you were always well-liked, always agreeable, always popular? Or will they say you stood for something? Will they say you made a difference? Will they say their life was better because of how you lived yours? Legacy is about the seed you sow, not the attention you gain. You might never be known by millions, but if you live on purpose, you'll impact the lives that were meant to be touched by you. That teacher who spends their life investing in young minds may never go viral, but they're leaving a legacy. That parent who sacrifices, nurtures, and leads their family with love and integrity may never be famous, but they're building legacy every single day. That entrepreneur who builds a business that creates jobs and uplifts community may not be liked by everyone, but they're leaving something behind that matters. When you live on purpose, your focus shifts. Stop asking, what will make people like me? And start asking, what will make people better? You start making decisions based on mission instead of opinion. You stop being reactive to how people feel about you and start being proactive about how you can serve, how you can lead, how you can contribute. That's where legacy begins. In those quiet, intentional decisions that may not be glamorous, but are deeply meaningful. Being liked often means going with the flow, but living on purpose means being willing to go against the grain. It means doing what's right even when it's not popular. It means saying a no to shortcuts. It's a no to compromises, a no to distractions that would keep you from your assignment. And that kind of living isn't always celebrated in the moment. In fact, it can be lonely. It can be misunderstood. But it's those exact choices that define who you are and what you leave behind. One of the greatest lies the world tells us is that popularity equals success. There are people like you must be doing something right. But there are plenty of people who are liked, who are well-known, who are widely followed, and yet they leave no impact. Their names may be trending today, but forgotten tomorrow. Because popularity is based on perception. Legacy is built on principle. Popularity fades when attention shifts. Legacy lives on because it's built with intention, not reaction. Think about the people who have shaped the world. Think about the heroes of history. They weren't always liked. They were often criticized, resisted, even hated. But they lived on purpose. They followed their convictions. They endured the opposition because they knew what they were doing mattered. They weren't chasing comfort. They were chasing change. And now, long after they're gone, their legacy still inspired. You don't have to be a global figure to live a legacy-worthy life. You just have to be faithful where you are with what you've been given. Legacy isn't about the size of your platform. It's about the strength of your purpose. Are you using your voice, your gifts, your influence to uplift others? Are you being consistent in your values, even when no one's clapping? Are you building something meaningful, even if it's behind the scenes? Every day you wake up is another opportunity to write your legacy. Every choice you make is another sentence in your story. And you get to decide whether your life will be a reflection of purpose or a pursuit of popularity. You get to decide whether you'll look back on your life with pride in what you built or regret for the time you spent chasing people's approval. Living on purpose also requires courage. Courage to disappoint some people. Courage to be misunderstood. Courage to walk alone when the crowd goes a different direction. But that courage is what sets you apart. It's what allows you to build something solid, something lasting, something powerful. You were not made to live a shallow life. You were made for depth, for significance, for legacy. Stop wasting your energy trying to fit into spaces that don't align with your calling. Stop diluting your voice so you can avoid conflict. Stop performing for likes when you were meant to lead with purpose. You were not created to entertain the world. You were created to impact it. And that starts with living intentionally every single day. So ask yourself, what do you want to be remembered for? Not in terms of how many people liked you, but how many lives you touched. Not how many followers you had, but how many people you led. Not how often you were praised, but how faithfully you walked in purpose. The truth is, you won't always be liked. You won't always be understood. You won't always be applauded. But if you live on purpose, you will always be significant. You will always be building something eternal. And long after your name stops trending, your legacy will still speak. Live today in a way that your life echoes tomorrow. Speak with integrity. Act with compassion. Serve with excellence. Build with purpose. Because at the end of the day, legacy doesn't come from popularity. It comes from living each moment as if it matters. Because it does. When the crowd disappears, your purpose remains. That's a truth many people only discover when it's too late. When the lights fade, the attention dries up, and the applause stops echoing. The harsh reality is, crowds are fickle. They come and go, praise and criticize, celebrate and forget. One day, they cheer your name, and the next, they don't even remember it. If your identity is rooted in the crowd, you'll crumble the moment they walk away. But if your life is grounded in purpose, you'll continue to move forward, even when no one's watching. You'll continue to rise, even when no one's clapping. You'll continue to build, even when you're building alone. The reason so many people lose themselves is because they tied their value to visibility. They only felt worthy when they were seen. They only felt successful when they were acknowledged. But purpose doesn't depend on visibility. Purpose isn't validated by applause. Purpose is eternal, internal, and personal. It's not something you put on like a costume to impress others. It's something you carry like a compass, guiding your every move, regardless of who's looking. When you truly live in your purpose, it becomes your anchor. It keeps you steady when things are uncertain. It gives you direction when circumstances are chaotic. Crowds can't give you that. They'll flatter you one moment and forgive the next. They'll elevate you as long as you entertain them, but abandon you the moment you stop feeding their expectation. That's why living for the crowd is dangerous. It teaches you to perform, not to live. It teaches you to impress, not to grow. And eventually, that performance becomes exhausting because it's not real. You can't build a meaningful life on something that constantly shifts. Purpose, on the other hand, remains. It's the thing that wakes you up in the morning with a sense of mission. It's what keeps you grinding when the outcome isn't immediate. It's what keeps you giving when there's no recognition. Purpose is a long game. a quiet commitment, a deep truth that doesn't need confirmation from anyone else. It's between you and God, between you and the reason you were created. You don't need an audience to be effective. Some of the most powerful moments in your life will happen in private. Some of your biggest breakthroughs will come when you're not being cheered for, but when you're being tested. It's in those lonely, hidden places that real character is built. That's where discipline is formed. That's where your why becomes stronger than your who's watching. You learn how to lead yourself before you ever lead others. You learn how to push yourself before anyone ever pushes you. The most dangerous thing that can happen is for you to become addicted to attention. Because when attention becomes your drug, you'll chase it at any cost. You'll start compromising your values to get more of it. You'll start shifting your message to keep people happy. You'll start measuring your worth by applause instead of authenticity. And the scariest part? You won't even realize you're lost until you're deep in it. That's why seasons of solitude are so important. When the crowd disappears, you learn who you are without noise. You learn what truly drives you. You learn whether your commitment is real or just a reaction to attention. It's easy to look focused when people are watching. It's easy to show up when people are counting on you. But when no one is checking in, when no one is celebrating your efforts, will you still move? Will you still show up with the same passion? That's where purpose proves itself. Because purpose doesn't need a spotlight. Purpose doesn't need a stage. It just needs a heart that's willing, a soul that's anchored, a mind that's determined. You could lose everything, your platform, your followers, your title, and still have purpose. Because purpose isn't what you do for others to see. It's who you are when the room is empty. Look at the lives of those who've made a lasting impact. Many of them spent years in obscurity before the world ever knew their name. They didn't wait for a crowd to begin. They didn't wait for applause to act. They didn't let silence make them question. They didn't let silence make them question their calling. They moved when it was dark. They worked when it was quiet. They played when it was lonely. And because of that, they harvested something real, something lasting, something eternal. You have to be okay with being alone sometimes. You have to be okay with not being noticed. Because if your only fuel is attention, you'll burn out. But if your fuel is purpose, you'll endure. You'll outlast trends, outlive seasons, and outwork distraction. Because purpose gives you something popularity can't. Consistency. Crowds are emotional. They follow what's shiny, what's trendy, what's loud. But purpose is consistent. It doesn't rise and fall with feelings. It doesn't shift with society's opinions. It's rooted in your truth, in your mission, in your soul. That's why the ones who change the world aren't always the loudest. They're the most focused. They're the ones who kept showing up when no one was watching. They're the ones who stayed faithful when no one was clapping. You don't need a crowd to be great. You don't need a crowd to be great. You don't need a crowd to be effective. You don't need a crowd to be enough. What you need is clarity. What you need is conviction. What you need is to be so deeply rooted in your purpose that nothing and no one can pull you off course. Because the crowd will come and go, but your calling remains. This isn't to say that crowds are evil. There's nothing wrong with being seen, with being celebrated, with having support. But it becomes a problem when it defines you. When your confidence rises and falls with the crowd's approval, you're in danger. Because people are inconsistent. They'll love you one day and leave you the next. But your purpose won't betray you. Your purpose won't abandon you. Your purpose won't turn its back on you because of a mistake or a moment of weakness. When you live from purpose, your identity becomes unshakable. You stop trying to be who others want you to be and start becoming who you were always meant to be. You stop performing and start producing. You stop chasing and start creating. And that's when you become unstoppable. Not because of who's watching, but because of who you are. So when the crowd disappears and you stand firm, you stay grounded. You don't shrink. You don't question your work. You don't lose your fire. You remember why you started. You remember the vision. You remember the calling, and you keep going because your purpose didn't come from the crowd. And it doesn't leave when they do. That's how legacies are built. That's how movements are born. That's how purpose changes the world quietly, consistently, and without permission. So don't fear the silence. Don't fear the silence. Don't fear the solitude. Embrace it. Let it refine you. Let it strengthen you. Because when the applause fades and the noise dies down, your purpose will still be there. whispering, guiding, fueling you toward the impact you were born to make.